later, and then we'll have drinks and food and everything else. Before he starts, I'm going to plug a few things. The first one is our MSA Fastathon t-shirt. Can everyone see that? They're $10, so if you want to support our MSA, if you want to help us put on events like this, please buy one. They're really cool. And then the second thing I want to talk about is the SLU MSA Eid Dinner. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10? $8? Tickets are $8, so please buy one. Go to SLU tomorrow. We'll have some good food. And so I'd like to introduce our speaker, Faizan Syed. Most of you know him. He graduated from Drake University. He's the executive director of CARE St. Louis. And without further ado, here's Faizan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There's a very rare neck disease going around, and it happens when a person is sitting and they watch like this. So please turn your chairs and face them towards me. No reason to sit sideways or anything of that nature. No, that's not public health service announcement. That's just, please turn your chairs around. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد. We always begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him and we thank Him and we seek His help and guidance in all of our affairs. And one of the greatest affairs and the greatest situation that a person goes through is marriage. So we decided to make a presentation about marriage in Islam versus culture, and it is it is presented by myself, Faizan Syed. So without further ado, I'd like to begin by saying it's rise and shine, it's shadi time. Oh. But this is a picture, if it would work correctly, which is not, I don't know why. This is a picture of marriage in Pakistan. We'll continue though. Alright. One of the greatest attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He describes Himself as Qul huwallahu ahad. That Allah says about Himself that say He is Allah, uniquely one, completely alone, single by Himself outside of His creation. This is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that describes His power and His oneness and His awesomeness. But yet, human beings were not in the same category if human beings were completely alone. If you're completely by yourself, or let's say you're on a desert island, immediately you will start to go insane. Immediately a person, by his loneliness and by being by himself or being just completely avoid of any other people, they would begin to lose their mind. So it's only when a person finds another. It's only when a person finds that significant other. It's only when when two people become one in marriage, and when two people meet each other and know each other, that's when they feel complete. And that's when they feel close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His oneness. But for two people, for human beings, the only way you can feel that one, only way you can feel that singularity is by finding another. Only two become one. And that is the uniqueness of us compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when two becomes one, that's ahad. But Allah, His glory is made by Him being one, completely alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that when Allah grants one a righteous wife, He has helped him to preserve half of his religion, and let him then fear and revere Allah in regards to the other half. Meaning that when a person finds that significant other, when you find that other person and you marry that other person, you begin to live your life with that other person, it's as if you've completed half of your being. It's as if you've completed half of your religion. And now for the other half, you spend that time worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fearing Allah and giving Him His rights. And the reason is because so many things come with marriage. When a person marries somebody else, they become a husband, but eventually they become a father. They eventually become a teacher. They eventually begin to shape the society that they're living in, mold it. So all these things that come with the marriage, patience, you'll get upset, controlling your anger, all these things that come, that is a part of that blessing. That's why it says that half your deen is completed when you get married. because the growth that happens to a person is immense and extraordinary in itself. So get married, that's your 50% there, inshallah. And among his signs is that he created for you from yourselves spouses that you may dwell in joint security with them. And he set between you love and mercy. Surely in this there are signs for those who reflect. It's a very weird statement, this statement, very strange when I first read it. Because the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something powerful. So if you can imagine the other prophets, for example Moses or Musa alayhi salam, when Musa alayhi salam, he went to the Red Sea and he departed the sea, that's a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when people saw that, their faith was solid after seeing that sign. During the time of Isa alayhi salam, he would go and he would cure the sick. And this is a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when people would see that sign, immediately their faith would become firm. And they knew this was from only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have major signs. But yet here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that his sign, a sign like a miracle, one of the miracles of Allah is that two people that he created from you yourselves spouses that you may marry and live in tranquility with them. And I wonder, how is this a sign from Allah? How is this a miracle? When a person reflects on this and they give this some thought, how is it that two people who never knew each other, who never met each other, who never even understood this other person, one day they can meet and fall in love with each other, and want to live the rest of their lives with that other person? How is it that this can happen? You see, two strangers, they have this type of bond that nobody else has. So this is why it's actually a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that two people can want to do this. And an example to counter that is like, I have a lot of friends. For example, me and brother Ahmed here, right? Him and I, we might be close. We might be tight, alhamdulillah. But there ain't no way I'm gonna live with him forever, right? What about money? And there ain't no way I'm gonna share my bank account with him or anything like that, right? That's right. So it's unique, different type of relationship. So these are the beauties that come with marriage. And today what we want to discuss is what is marriage in Islam versus marriage in culture. What is the marriage in the religion that can actually bring you happiness and peace in this life, and then of course paradise in the next life? How do you achieve that? So today we'll talk about marriage, we'll also talk about the evils that exist within the marriages that happen today. And you'll understand more as it goes on. So let's meet our brother today. Our brother today, his name is Muhammad, who is interested in getting married. MashaAllah, this is brother Muhammad. He's very interested in getting married.
He's like 8.
No. He's from Malaysia. They don't love him. So brother Muhammad, MashaAllah, he's ready to get married. But like many people, he's confused on how to get married or what that process is. So today we're going to help this brother get married, inshallah. So step one in getting married, as you could imagine, you need to find another person to marry, right? It makes sense. We're going to try to keep it logical and slow. And before we continue, actually, many people, when I give this type of talk, at the end, every single person has their own unique case that they want to tell me about. Brother, mashallah, that was a good talk, but my case is special. My case is unique. So let me tell you about that. So rather than doing that, try to find yourself in these cases, and try to find yourself in these hadiths and Quran, and then try to change your situation to match that, rather than just talking to me afterwards. There are too many of these types of talks. Alright? So we're going to try to take it slow, step by step. Step one, you have to find another person to get married to, right? Or else there's no marriage. So step one, you have to find the right person to marry. Keyword, the right person to get married. And the right person to marry is not necessarily the person who you want to marry right here, right now, today. The right person for you to marry may not necessarily be the first person who you fall for, that you've got a crush on. The right person to marry has to be unique. And we'll talk about that uniqueness inshallah. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the marriage is a sunnah of mine. And whoever does not follow my sunnah is not my follower. Marry because I will display your outnumbering the other nation on the resurrection day. Whoever has wealth should marry, and whoever does not should fast because fasting is a restraint for him. So here it's clear that marriage is the part of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's incumbent upon every single Muslim to get married. It's your obligation to get married, and even in the next part, we won't talk too much about it, it's also the obligation to have like children, right? But we're not going to spend too much time on that. And whoever can't marry because of wealth-related issues, then he should fast, because fasting is a restraint for him. And we'll talk about that later on, though. A woman is sought for marriage for 4 reasons. The first one is wealth. Second is social status. Third is her beauty, and then the fourth is her deen or her piety or her relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So seek the one with deen, may you then be successful. And even in this verse, it describes different types of people getting married. So when men, especially, they go to find marriage, they look for these types of categories. The number one is wealth, right? So if the lady is wealthy, it actually is an attraction to get married to that person. Another is, of course, social status, or like her family, right? Another one is beauty, right? And then the last one is deen, her religiosity. Now, it should be made clear that all of these points are important, right? And nobody should forget the first three. But then he says, marry the one with deen, so you may then be successful. That doesn't negate the first 3 points. That doesn't mean that if a person is like wealthy, you shouldn't marry that person. If a person has a good social status, you shouldn't marry that person. If a person is beautiful, you shouldn't marry that person. That's not what it's saying. Rather, you should realize that all of these categories are temporary. All of these categories are temporary, and they change with time. You'll see that a person's wealth, it changes, it fluctuates. And we're now going through a recession in this country, so you can see how easily wealth can just be destroyed in front of you. So if you marry somebody for wealth-related reasons, then when the wealth is gone, the marriage is destroyed. Social status is something temporary as well. Who you are in the society can change over time. Beauty, mashallah, everybody here is like in their 20s or 30s, so all of us, Allah Akbar, very like pretty people up here. But even as you get older, eventually that beauty dies down. So if a person marries only due to beauty, only due to that physical attraction, then there will be no benefit to that. And even beauty, there are 2 types of beauty. There's an outer beauty, the physical appearance, and the inner beauty. And an outer beauty is what attracts a person in the beginning. So when you see somebody, you're attracted to the outer beauty. But some people have outer beauty, but they have no inner beauty. That means they're corrupt on the inside. So you see 2 people who get married, and they get married because of the beauty of the other person, but then they fight constantly. And they always have this hard relationship. You might ask, what happened to the beauty in that relationship? You realize that outer beauty doesn't materialize into anything. So all of these categories are important, but seek the one that has deen, seek the one that has that connection with Allah, because that is what will help you in the future. So finding the right one, like these 2 did. Characteristics of finding a good match. There are a few characteristics that one should look into a wife to find, alright? So we'll talk about a few of these characteristics. First, you should look for a wife who has a good character or has been raised in a good moral atmosphere. Avoid looseness and promiscuity. In case somebody's wondering, these points are from another sheikh, and I copied them and put them here. So they're not necessarily like I didn't write all this up, just to keep that in mind. So look for somebody who has good character or has been raised in a good moral household. And this is important because the character of a person is the way they will interact with you, and they will interact with your friends, your family, and the society around you. So you have to find somebody with excellent moral character. Number 2 is, of course, ability to bear children. Again, I didn't write this, somebody else did. The most important purpose of marriage is reproduction. It is recommended to marry younger women who can bear many children. We'll skip that. Okay. But no, seriously. Talking about the last one, just for a second. When you marry somebody, the marriage is actually reinforced when you have children, all right? Because children are just like, as they say, like bundles of joy, whatever else. They're wonderful, but actually, when you have children, it actually increases the love between you and your wife, because then you're working for a common goal. You're working to raise your children, and it actually builds that relationship stronger. And without children, it actually puts strain on the relationship, because there's nothing else to like put your energy out on. So you see many people, even though they'll fight, like many of my friends, for example, they fought a lot, unfortunately, but because they had like a lot of children, it was stressful, so they had to raise the children. It actually keeps people together. While when you don't have children, the ability to stay together with that other person strains over time. You see this happening. So even though the last one's kind of a funny thing, but keep that in mind. Children are wonderful, even if they suck the life out of you. Loving attitude. Your wife or your husband should have a loving and caring attitude towards her husband and towards his wife, and normal possible to sense from her environment and family's reputation. Meaning that if you marry somebody, they have to be loving. And loving in a sense that they're not always strict. They're not always firm. That they have a loving attitude and they have a playful attitude. The Prophet ﷺ, he would play with his wives. It is even narrated that he would race with his wives, or he would joke with his wives. And the reason is because he had a loving attitude in his marriage. And if your marriage is something of strictness, or if your marriage is that of, like a business partnership, then you won't have that type of same relationship or love in that marriage. You have to make sure that person is loving. And if that person isn't loving, then he isn't caring, or she isn't loving and she isn't caring, then this will create great tension in you because their hearts have become hardened. And a heart that is hard is a very difficult person to deal with because that hardening of the heart leads to arrogance. It leads to resistance. It leads to sternness. Marriage is a lot of compromise. And if your spouse's heart is hard and they're not loving and compassionate, then when conflict comes up, and conflict will always come up, there will be no settlement between you two. There'll only be their way and then your way. There can't be any middle ground. So find the person who has a loving attitude in life in general. So no emo people. Contentment. You want to find somebody who is content with what they have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes human beings and he says, "O like son of Adam, if you were given a mountain of gold, an entire mountain of gold, you would want another, right? If you were given everything you wanted, you would want more. There is no resistance. There's nothing that can stop the appetite of human beings. They're always wanting more. They'll never find that contentness in their life if they were given everything. So even if you're rich or if you're wealthy and you marry somebody who's not content, no matter how much money you make, it's irrelevant because you'll never please that person. You'll never make that person happy. But if you find the person who's content in poverty or in wealth, if you find the person who has that contentness in life, that they don't really seek anything other than the pleasure of Allah or other than what they have, they are content, then that will make your life easy because when you can provide for them, they're thankful. And when hard times come, and hard times will come, in your relationship, you have to realize that young people, we don't sometimes realize how long these relationships are. 40 years, imagine that, right? 40 years, imagine that's your relationship. In that 40 years, you'll get tired and you'll also get fired. You'll make wealth and you'll also get laid off. You'll have debt and you'll also be free of debt. So hard times will come. And if you don't find the person who's content with what they have, you will always be in misery with that person. You will always find hardship with that person. The most beautiful of people are the ones who are content with a little bit of what they have. They are the most beautiful type of people. Naivety. Naivety, simplicity, and innocence of the heart are commendable qualities to be sought in a wife. You don't want a husband who's naive. To have a wife that's naive, that's a little different. Okay, I'm not going to go to why that's true. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Let's continue. Before anybody. Beauty. The best of women is one who pleases her husband. And then, of course, all of these, you can just put the reciprocal on the lady's side. Or the husband who pleases her wife. When he looks at her, obeys him when he orders, and does not subject her person or money to what he dislikes. Beauty in the West is considered as only a physical outer beauty. That people will operate on themselves, will buy cosmetics, do all these things to try to preserve their beauty, their outer beauty. But Islam talks about a different type of beauty. It talks about the outer beauty, but then the inner beauty. The beauty of a woman is that who pleases her husband when he looks at her. That's the outer beauty. But also when she obeys him when he asks him to do something, and does not subject him or his money to what he dislikes. Right? This is all inner beauty. That physically, you have that attraction, but then also when your husband asks you to do something, that you do it. And when the lady asks you to do something, you also do that as well. Right? This isn't just one way or the other. But rather, you do what your spouse asks you to do. And that you don't spend your person or your money displeasing your husband. Meaning you don't keep company that your husband or your wife doesn't like, right? Women sometimes get jealous, surprisingly. Aisha radiallahu anha would get jealous of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she would yell at him sometimes, and she would break stuff sometimes because of her jealousy. So if that's the mother of the believers, imagine your wife. She will get jealous, right? So you have to be careful that when you keep your company or your friends, that you keep people who don't necessarily make your wife jealous, because that will create tension in your relationship. And on the other hand, you also want to marry somebody who will understand your economic constraints that you have. People aren't infinitely wealthy. So if you marry somebody who doesn't understand your economic situation, then you will have many economic types of problems. I don't need to go into those, but we can imagine that. The best of your women are those who are bearer of many children, loving to their husband, comforting and tolerant, provided they have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the worst of your women are those who display their charms to others other than their husbands, and who walk with arrogance. Such are the hypocrites. And those of them who will enter Jannah are as rare as are the red-beaked and red-legged crows. The reason I mentioned this hadith here is that many times when a person is looking for a spouse, either a man looking for a husband or a lady looking for a man looking for a wife or a lady looking for a husband, they will want things that are not realistic. That your idea of a dream spouse doesn't exist. I remember I was talking to one brother, and he was telling me what his wife had to have, the qualities she had to have. And he just kept going on and on and on and on. And I was like, you know what, stop. I know exactly the perfect woman for you to marry. He's like, really, who is that? And told me one of the ladies in Jannah, right? One of the ladies of Red in Paradise, because there's nobody like that in this world. And as human beings, our nature is that we want something, or we want the best in our spouse. And we need to change our thinking. Rather than trying to find all these characteristics in your spouse, you should ask yourself the question, do you have these characteristics inside yourselves? Are you the person that somebody will want to marry, or are you just looking for that other person to marry? Are you, if somebody looked at you and looked at your character, would they desire that type of character? Or are you only looking out for yourself and your own selfishness? See, this is the shift that needs to be made. And when the shift happens amongst a society, then it's easy to find better people to marry. But if that doesn't happen, if people marry out of selfishness, if they're always looking for the best in their spouse, then you'll always find this type of difficulty. This is why the last part says they're as rare as a red-beaked or red-legged crows, meaning that to find that perfect spouse, to find that perfect husband, to find that perfect wife, is very, very rare. It's very difficult to do. And it requires a lot of time and patience and commitment in looking for that person. People, we rush to get married, right? If you talk to 9% of people here, they will want to get married yesterday, right? They want to get married before they even got here if they could. But the reality is that when you try to find somebody to marry, you should spend time looking for that person. You should really focus on trying to find that spouse, because this isn't a light choice you're making. This isn't a small decision, it's a lot of lifelong decision you're making. Other important factors to look into before you make the yes or no. Language, culture, tradition, and family. Language, culture, tradition, and family. In the United States, we are a living miracle, the Muslim community. And the miracle is that if I were to ask everybody to look to your left, and I were to ask everybody to look to your right, there's very high chance the person sitting next to you is not from the same ethnic background that you are. There's a very high chance that the person around you at the table next to you are not from the same geographic background, cultural background, language background, difference, right? And this is a miracle in the sense that no other place in the world do you find this type of diversity amongst human beings, anywhere, except in Makkah and in the United States, right? The reason this is important is because Muslims living in this country, since we're such a diverse community, we have issues that other people don't necessarily have. If I was to get married in Pakistan, everybody's going to be speaking the same language, right? Everybody's going to have the same culture. Everybody's going to have the same tradition. But when you want to get married in the United States, this is where the difficulty comes into play, because not everybody has the same language. not everybody the same culture. If you want to marry somebody, and let's say you're Pakistani and they're, I don't know, like Indonesian or Arab or whatever it is, your family or your parents speak a different language and their parents speak a different language. So when you marry that person, how are the families, how are the parents going to talk to one another? When you marry somebody of a different culture, how is that culture going to happen? How are you going to raise that type of society? So these are also something that person needs to think of. And also the tradition in the family. So these are unique challenges that we have. The necessary people in other types of parts of the world, they don't have the same challenge. Additional challenges that exist in finding someone to marry is just finding somebody to marry, plus lack of halal venues and finding people to marry. So another challenge that exists, and I see a lot of the guys laughing because I'm sure a lot of the guys have this type of difficulty, is if you want to get married, where do you actually go to find somebody to get married, right? In traditional cultures and traditional societies, your mom or your grandma or somebody would actually like find you somebody to get married to, right? I would assume this is what everybody would say. Or yeah, somebody would help you with that. But that's not necessarily true here. So it happens that a lot of people will delay their marriage just because they don't know anybody else to get married to. Right? They don't actually have that type of venue, they don't know who else they could find, or they don't know how you meet that other person. So this is another unique challenge that we have. So, getting back to Brother Muhammad, I just want to talk about challenge. Getting back to Brother Muhammad now, he's interested in his sister, but he doesn't know what to do next. He's wondering, like, this is the sister he's interested in. But he's confused, he's wondering, mashallah, he found her, he went through all those challenges, he found this lady, but he's wondering, does she like me? Am I just a friend to her or something else? What does she really like? I don't know all these things. There's a lot of confusion that's going on, Brother, at Muhammad's mind. And now he's confused. Oh no, what do I do now? Well, don't worry, Brother Muhammad. No, we're fine. I think it echoes very good in here. I think it should be okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
No, we don't. Thank you, Tisab. Oh no, what do I do now, right? So he found that person, right? So now try to put yourself in Muhammad's shoes. So you found that person you want to marry, but now what do you do, right? You've went through all those other things, so now what do you do? How do you find out if she is interested in you as well? And then of course you can flip it as well. So, how to find out if the lady that you find is also interested in you, or if she's even a good candidate to get married to, right? Because you need to figure this out. So, there are a few ways to do this, and they're all fairly commonsensical ways. Before I go into these, I want to say things not to do. A few things not to do. Do not stalk her on Facebook, right? That's not a good thing to do. Do not join a club that she's in just to be around her more often, right? That's not a good thing to do. Do not do all these crazy types of things that people we do just so we can get to know the other person, because what happens is this leads to a lot of what's called fitna. Fitna is I don't know how to describe it, it creates a lot of problems. So don't do these types of things. Rather try these, inshallah. So first of all, what you can do is friends. Family, your friends or family, or someone who knows her. So if you find somebody who you are interested in, whether it's a girl to a guy or a guy to a girl, that person probably has friends, unless they're I don't know, horrible human being, in which case you shouldn't hurt them. They probably have friends. So the best thing to do is actually go and talk to their friends. But you gotta be a little subtle about it. Don't be like, I'm gonna marry this person. But you can talk to her friends and see what kind of company she keeps. You can also go and talk to her family if you have that type of connection. So if you have a brother, a cousin, an uncle, or somebody like that, you can talk to that person to learn more about that individual. Your friends, this is where it gets tricky, so follow along with me, right? Your friends. Maybe you have a friend who knows that person, or if you don't, maybe you can ask a friend to ask one of her friends to learn about that person, or maybe your friend could ask her directly. Third or fourth degree separation. Everybody follow me, right? Yeah, everybody's following along so far, yes? This is the one thing that nobody will do, but you should do. This one is the one thing nobody will do, but you should do. If you're serious to marry somebody, what you should do is you should tell your family. Talk to your mom, talk to your dad, talk to your uncles, talk to your aunts, don't talk to your cousins, they're stupid. Talk to your parents or aunts or uncles and have them do something simple. Go to that person's house and learn more about that family. Talk to your parents and have your parents go and find out about that family. Or have your parents go find out about that person. And if you do this will actually be the most beneficial for you, but this is the hardest thing for us to do. We'll talk about why that's the hardest thing for us to do. Or, of course, someone who knows her, some stranger, talk to her teacher. No, don't do that. So alhamdulillah, Brother Ahmed, he got her friends, he talked to her friends, right? He talked to her family, he talked to his friends, he talked to her friend and her, and he talked to her, his parents as well. So alhamdulillah, he's now interested. He's pretty sure that she is the right one for him. So it's time to propose. Everybody follow, wait, follow along with me. This is where it gets a little tricky, if we were to say that. So he's pretty sure, not 100% sure, he's pretty sure she's the right one, but now he has to find out if she's the right, right? And how are you going to do that? It's not through Facebook, not through texting. You have to propose. Proposal in Islam, this is something that maybe most people don't understand, so this is probably not for everybody. When you propose to somebody in Islam, you're actually, I guess, a bad English translation is you're courting that person. Courting has a very negative connotation, but it means that you're interested in marrying this person and you want to pursue it further, so you actually go and propose to that individual. And in that time, you're actually like courting, aka you're like finding out more about that individual, or in Arabic they call it khitbah, and I like to call it getting to know the other person. This is the process of asking the woman's hand in marriage, right? So I don't want to be around the bush. You do the proposal when you're pretty sure you want to marry this person, but you want to find out for sure, you have to ask that person's hand in marriage, and that's how you find out more about this individual. How to propose? Okay, before we get to that part, how do you propose to somebody? Any ideas? That's a rhetorical question. Nobody raise your hand. Right? So, if you're ready to propose to somebody, the men, let's focus here, all the guys. Lydian, focusing on me. How do you propose to somebody? All right? For a man, you can do one of two things. You can propose to her directly, and there's nothing wrong with proposing to a lady directly. All right? Let's make that clear. There's nothing wrong with going to a lady, be like, hey there. Now I know what you're thinking. So you can go up to her directly, and you can propose to her. Another thing you can do is you can have somebody represent you and propose. You can have somebody represent you who can propose to her. Who can represent you? Obviously, your parents can go and propose on your behalf. A friend of yours can go propose on your behalf, right? So you can have one of your friends to propose, or a relative or something. So you can find somebody else to propose. So you can do it directly, or you can find somebody to propose. And a proposal is that, I'm interested in this brother, or I am interested in marrying you. What do you think? That is a proposal. Any questions? Before we continue, the ladies, all right. Okay, the ladies though. It is allowed for a woman to go and propose to a man. It is allowed for a lady to go up to a man and propose to him. A lady went to the Prophet ﷺ and she actually proposed herself to him. The Prophet ﷺ, he didn't say anything. He kind of ignored her. This hadith is kind of funny, though it's not funny. So she asked again, and he ignored her again, and she asked a third time. So then she does something kind of funny and arty. She sits down and waits. So another brother who sees this going on, he comes up to her, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ya Messenger of Allah, if you don't want to marry her, I'll marry her." No, I thought that was funny. Okay, that's fine. So if you don't want to marry her, I'll marry her. And then the hadith goes on. I don't want to go into that hadith, but so a lady can go up to a man and propose. Khadija, she proposed to Prophet ﷺ through one of her friends. She told her friend, and the friend went and proposed to that person. Or a lady can ask her family to go to that guy's family and propose. Let's now come back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity, right? Okay. As men, you have to realize that sometimes people, especially the guys in our day, they are, for whatever strange reason, hoping and dreaming that a lady will come up to them and propose to them. So they don't have to go and propose to the lady. This exists, right? This exists. So many men are waiting for a lady to propose to them. This is very strange. Actually, it's very strange because the reason men propose to women is because, men, this is going to get a bit sexist, but that's okay. Because men are actually able to take that type of rejection. If the lady says no, they are able to take that type of rejection. And even then, most guys, they fear proposals, right? Most guys, they fear proposing to somebody. So if the men fear proposing, then what do you think the ladies feel like, right? So what are the chances that ladies can propose to you? So don't wait around for that to happen. Take the initiative, right? Be a man, do the right thing. Prior to formally proposing to her, it is permissible, okay, this is where it gets very interesting. Prior to formally proposing to her, it is permissible for the guy and for the girl to look at the other person. What is looking? Now, of course, I see everybody here. Looking is that you can get a good look at the other person, right? This, for some reason, gives people difficulties. You're about to, and the reason is because there's a false sense of modesty that exists, right? So when I tell people, before you marry, you can actually look at that person, and you can have like a good look at that person. Why? Because you're going to marry that person, right? You're going to live the rest of your life with that person. So you want to make sure you get a good look at that individual. So for guys, usually when a man looks at a lady, you look at her and then you lower your gaze or you look away, right? You don't like stare at her. But when you're in the proposal area, when you're about to propose to her, you can actually get like a much better look at that individual. There is a difference of opinion. I don't want to give you a difference of opinion. I'll just mention it, and if anybody asks again, I can give you both sides of it. One opinion said that you can look at a lady, but she has to remain covered, right? She has to remain covered. So you can only look at her wearing the hijab. That's one opinion, and that might be a stronger opinion. Another, but there are opinions out there that you can look at the lady and she takes the hijab off, and you can see her with her hair and all these things, because again, it's for marriage purposes. Why does this exist within our religion? This only is allowed if you're seriously intending to marry that person. Because of course, when you're going to marry that person, you want to see what they look like, right? So this is a right upon the man to get look at the lady, and for the lady to look at the guy in a way that most people, they don't look at each other because you want to marry that individual. So you do have that right. The two opinions are the lady has to wear a hijab, which I feel is actually a stronger opinion. But there is an opinion, and I can't say this is wrong if anybody does, but the lady can't take off the hijab, so you can see her with her hair and her natural beauty. What should be avoided, ladies, is that you should not go home. Okay, the guy's coming, he's going to propose to me. You shouldn't go home and I don't know, look like a soup roll, like a soup ball or something. That's kind of crazy. Natural beauty. Muhammad bin Maslama reported that the Prophet, I switched those, I'm sorry. Okay, reported the Prophet said that when it comes into a person's heart to court a woman, it is permissible for him to look at her. So when you're about to propose to somebody, it's permissible for you to look at her thoroughly. Is a woman allowed to look? Yes. Okay, I should mention though, I'll just say it. Men are obviously more physically attracted to women than women are physically attracted to men. So when men look at women, they obviously have a different type of look than what women should have. I don't want to get into that, but I'm sure you guys can get into that. For any proposal to be accepted, so a guy comes and he proposes, for that to be accepted, a lady needs to have her wali, or a guardian who's a male guardian, actually agree, and the parents must be involved. This is where 9% of marriages don't go anywhere. Right? This is the fifth one. So we'll talk about it. So when you propose to a lady, you can propose to her directly, but when you propose to her directly, that should be a proposal like, I'm interested in marrying you, what do you think? Because the lady might be like, man, heck no, right? So you don't want to necessarily go home, tell your parents, tell her parents, and then her to be like, no, right? So you can go up to her and ask her that. But after you've done that, it is now time that you have to ask her parents. You have to get your parents involved, and you have to get her parents involved. This is very hard for people to do, very difficult for people to do. Talk about why in a second. But for any proposal to be accepted, the lady, they need a male relative to agree to that proposal. Why is that? All these questions are rhetorical. If I ever ask a question, don't answer it. Why is that? It's for many reasons. One reason is because women are, I'm not going to get a lot of slack about this, but women are sometimes very easily fooled. Women are sometimes very easily fooled because women are more emotional than guys are. So it's easy for men to take advantage of women's emotions and to take advantage of this type of situation. Because of this reality, despite what anybody else might say, if you want to argue philosophically, I don't care, I don't want to talk to you. The reality is that women are easily fooled, especially when it comes to emotional situations. It's hard to fool a lady for economic things. How much for that purse? $30. What? You never fool that. Emotions though, you can fool people though. So this is why a lady needs to have a male representative to protect her in this situation, right? And that's just reality. So for it to be accepted, the wali has to be involved, a male relative. It can be your father, uncle, grandfather, brother, cousin, not cousin. Keep a cousin out of this. So, fitna time, right? Anything we talk about, there's always that opposite that exists, and we need to talk about these challenges that happen. Number one, top 4 reasons why Muslims don't get married. Top 4 reasons why Muslims don't get married. There's a study done by Al-Maghrib Institute that researched Muslims from every community imaginable. 4 reasons why people don't get married. Number 1, the number 1 reason why young Muslims don't get married is their parents. The number 1 reason, hands down, even if these other 3 things don't, forget about the rest. Number 1 reason why people don't get married is their parents. Is their parents. Number 2, I flipped number 2 and 3, I'm sorry. Number 2 should be fear of commitment, right? You're afraid of commitment, especially the guys, so they don't propose. Number 3, lack of proposal. This is the paradox that exists. So men are afraid to propose because they're afraid of commitment. And the number 3 reason why women don't get married is because nobody's proposing to them. How ironic, right? Number 4, financial burdens. Let's talk about all 4 of these very quickly. Oh, I did actually help with that. Today, our relationship with our parents is difficult. And to be fair, our parents are kind of weird people as well. They speak a different language than you do. They like different food that you do. They're kind of crazy for, They watch Al Jazeera all day. They watch Pakistani television all day. They watch Bosnian news all day. They're on the phone with their family in Bosnia or Pakistan. All right? What this has meant in reality is that children and your parents, there's a generational divide. There's a linguistic divide. There's a different way of thinking. And many people, many children, not only in the Muslim community, but in all the community, they don't have a positive relationship with their parents. Many times they're even afraid to tell their parents what they're doing. So what happens is that many times your friends around you, they know everything you're doing and your parents have no idea what you're doing. The people who are just your friends, the strangers who you meet and you kind of like get along with, they know more about your life than your parents because people, they don't talk to their parents because of these gaps that exist. And because of these gaps that exist, it's hard for individuals to get married. Parents expect one thing from you when you get married, when you try to find that spouse, and you want something. Hello, my name is. This is the part where you will actually get to know the other person, and this is a part of the courting procedure itself. First, I should mention that when you propose to that other person, right, it's a tradition in many of us that we recite Surah Fatiha, which is the first chapter of the Quran. Don't do that anymore. All of us are going to stop doing this, right? So when you propose, nobody's going to recite Surah Fatiha, right? Because this is not in our religion. In fact, I'll make a joke. When I get married, I'm going to recite Surah Baqarah, right? And then 5 hours later, but don't do that. You cannot, this is technical, you cannot court anyone who's already being courted. So if a lady is being courted by another brother, you can't go in and be like, I love you, don't, which is bad because 9% soap operas are based off that. Right? When you're courting that person, when you propose, this is when you can learn a lot more about them, talking and learning about one another. This is done under the watch of the wali, which means like the lady's male relative, whatever, he is done under his watch. So you can actually go to her house, or you can go out, or you can go somewhere, you can learn more about that person. This part of what scares people, like the watch of the wali. Okay, the wali, the male relative, should not be like, here's the girl, here's the guy, and here's the wali. He can be away, he can be in a different room, he just has to be there. So this is an opportunity for you to get to know that other person. You can talk about related issues to marriage, no touching, of course.